Hello everybody, David Shuster here. Donald Trump is now facing a growing controversy both domestically and overseas, and it has led to Trump getting trashed in congressional hearings and laughed at to his face by foreign leaders. Let's start on Capitol Hill with House Democrat Jasmine Crockett.
It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one?
Crockett questioned Republicans in the wake of Trump blaming Ukraine for the war with Russia and Trump mocking Ukraine's complaints about being left out of peace talks.
Today I heard, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
You could have made a deal? Ukraine should have never started the war?
Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem.
Not a single Republican in that House hearing was willing to say that Russia invaded Ukraine. Why? Because Donald Trump has not been willing to say the truth. But it gets even worse. In a recent speech, Trump called Ukrainian leader Zelensky a dictator.
A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast.
In an Oval Office meeting at the White House, President Trump got this follow-up question from a reporter. At the reporter's mention of Russian leader Vladimir Putin, watch as French President Macron literally laughs in Donald Trump's face.
President called Zelensky a dictator. Would you use the same words regarding Putin?
I don't use those words lightly. I think that we're going to see how it all works out. Let's see what happens.
That smirk from Macron speaks volumes. Trump has dug himself into a hole with the criticism of Zelensky and simultaneous refusal to criticize Russia's Putin. But ever the diplomat, Macron lends a nonverbal assist as Trump talks about potential peace talks.
I think we have a chance of a really good settlement between various countries. And, you're talking about Europe and you're talking about Ukraine as part of that whole situation. The other side has a lot of support also. So let's see how it all works out. It might work out. Look, you can never make up lives. The one thing you can make up the money, but you can't make up the lives. A lot of lives lost. I think probably a lot more lives than people are talking about. It's been a rough war.
Trump's description of the war being rough is about the only thing Trump said that most people could agree on. But coming from Trump, who got out of service in Vietnam and has long denigrated members of the U.S. military, Trump's assessment of any armed conflict seems hollow. And on CNN, Trump's former national security advisor hammered the idea that Donald Trump is now engaged in any kind of negotiation strategy or diplomacy.
Do you believe when Trump would not call Putin a dictator earlier, is that a negotiating strategy, or do you think he just doesn't think he is one?
Look, Trump's defenders say everything he says is a negotiating strategy, including when he says A and the next day says not A. It's all just a negotiating strategy. I think it's an indication his mind is full of mush, and he says whatever comes into it. He believes Vladimir Putin is his friend. And, you don't call your friends dictators. He doesn't like Volodymyr Zelensky. He hasn't liked him since the perfect phone call of the summer of 2018. So it's no sweat off his back to go ahead and call Zelensky a dictator. This is somebody who is not fit to be president. He can't tell America's friends from its enemies.
Relatedly, Trump has indicated that he may not honor the NATO alliance. In other words, if Russia rolls troops into Poland, which some analysts fear could be next, the United States would not join Europe in coming to Poland's defense. The scenario has left many foreign policy experts convinced that if a world war breaks out, the United States under Trump would be on the side of Russia and North Korea. It is extreme and it is bizarre. And given the more than 70 years of U.S. support for democracy and freedom against Russian tyranny and aggression, the capitulation now to Russia on Ukraine and whatever else comes next is leaving many policy experts stunned.
It's disgusting. Up is down, down is up. We're no longer the good actor. We no longer believe in the same values we did just a month ago. So it's, to me, I start to wonder, I'm not big into conspiracies because I've seen government as a leaky sieve. Things just don't stay secret. But now I'm starting to wonder, what does Putin have on Trump that he's willing to bend over so hard, bend over backwards to really support Putin's agenda? It doesn't make a huge amount of sense. He's not getting anything for it right now. He's giving away the farm. He's, I'm not sure what kind of deals he's making where he's giving everything that his opponent wants, nothing in return, maybe the promise, the dangle of something in the future. But he's not getting anything. He's voting against Ukraine, our allies in NATO. He's calling Zelensky a dictator. He's glad-handing and saying he's going to visit Putin at the Kremlin. This is just surreal and very, very wide departure, and it's really throwing a lot of folks for a loop. They don't know what to make of it.
Unfortunately, the Republican voices in Congress willing to speak out against Trump's Russia embrace have been few and far between. And that takes us back to the point being made by Jasmine Crockett and others. Donald Trump's stranglehold over Republicans has become so overwhelming that even on something simple such as who started the war in Ukraine, many Republicans will not say the truth. They will not say Russia. Because in the world of Donald Trump, reality gets subjugated to whatever falsehoods help Donald Trump personally. And if that means selling out America, selling out democracy, and even selling out basic decency and honesty, it's not just Donald Trump doing all of that. He has countless elected Republicans in Congress willing to join him. And the only good news in all of this is that Democrats like Jasmine Crockett are speaking out, condemning Trump, and shaming his Republican enablers. By the way, some Republican voters are now giving an earful to GOP lawmakers over the Trump-Musk budget cuts.
When will you stand up to them and say that is enough?
The end result of the fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
President Trump has issued a lot of executive orders. I think by and large this is moving very quickly compared to other administrations, and I think across the board he's done some very good things. I think he's gotten rid of birthright citizenship.
Illegal as hell.
But what is going on right now today is the House of Representatives and the Senate are totally abdicating their responsibility to the executive. You stand here and say, I'm not sure about that, or I'm not sure about that. You put up, frankly, some of these slides are very misleading. Let's talk about the Trump tax cut. How much of that deficit in that jump from 22 up was the tax cuts to the incredibly rich people of the world who are now in our White House and dismantling our government? You are an attorney. You are an officer of the court in addition to swearing an oath to our Constitution. And yet, well, you and so many of your colleagues are just sitting around watching. Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens next month.
Musk and the president have agreed that if there is any potential conflict of interest, some people don't believe that would happen.
It's your job.
In the next election, to elect someone that you believe.
We didn't elect anyone. Remember your oath. You don't represent us. You represent Elon Musk. You're a violation of your oath, sir.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Alaska gal who wrote, intelligent voters knew he was dangerous before the election. Indeed. Also, a special hello to Three Dog Mama, who wrote, "I've missed you, David. This is good stuff. F around and find out." Thank you, Three Dog Mama. I am thrilled that you and so many other news consumers are finding my stuff right here on YouTube. I look forward to reading all of your comments about Jasmine Crockett slamming President Trump and French President Macron literally laughing in Trump's face. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.